Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Happy President's Day to everybody. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, June Lawrence. Hello, Miss June.
Hello, Ree. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great family day. In Canada, it's Family Day today. So that's what we're celebrating.
Great, and boy, should we celebrate. So, our program today is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, which is AKA IDEA. We'd love for you to learn more about us at ideadance.org. Coffee Talk is a program where we invite those who are passionate about dance education, teaching dance, studio ownership, and share this passion for dance that once it gets inside of you, it holds on to you for life. I say that with a smile because I'm so grateful for it. Here we go. Miss June, you've been operating in Canada for the last 2 years. Tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like.
Well, this year we're very thankful because we've been back in studio. We started our fall session in September and we were in studio in person till December, had to do the month of January virtually, and now we're back. But before that, we completed last year's season from November to June online. We did all of that on Zoom, and that was a long haul. We've had 2 years of virtual recitals, filming the kids and putting together videos. We've had 2 years of not trying the costumes on the kids. We simply purchased them and handed them out. And thankfully, everything was great. It fit all the kids. We've never done that in our lives. So this week, the costumes are starting to come in. So we're starting to actually try them on the little kids that are in the building. So that's pretty exciting.
How cool is that?
Very cool.
How did you keep yourself going through this period of time? Because I know the studio owners here in the States, we got moments of hope and got to open again. And even if we were closed down again, we had that hope. You guys, it seems like, struggled and struggled. How did you maintain your sanity and say, I'm going to make it through this?
I think that when the pandemic started, I had weekly meetings with my team. They weren't mandatory, but every Monday we'd get together and we were either talking about the business and how we were going to cope on Zoom and what are some Zoom tips, because some teachers would have a really cool game that they played with kids that they shared, just talking about what's important while we're teaching on Zoom. Other times it was just talking about how everybody was managing. So like it was literally a weekly meeting that we were able to connect with each other and we're there for each other. A pretty strong group of women that I have on my team. So that made this whole thing a lot easier. Family support, of course, was tremendous. And just the idea that what was happening was not our fault. It was not my fault. I didn't do this. We have to come together as a community. But just thinking about that, I'm in the same position as everybody else, not just other studio owners, but the whole world was in that position. So just take a moment, relax, and we'll get through it.
And you sure did. You did it with a smile on your face, my friend. I think you set a good example, which is what we're going to be talking to Chasta about. A good example for the young women who danced through your school as a leader, who hung on strong and never said, I don't think I can do this, really said, I can do this. Do you realize that part of your action and what it means to the kids? I'm curious.
Yes, I do recognize that, because it's not only I can do this, but how will we do this? And talking to both my teachers and my desk staff and the students and their parents about what this looks like. So it might not be what it normally looks like. Here's what it looks like now, and this is what we're going. Because I know, you know that we went from A to Z. We changed our plans like on some months, we changed them like every week. This is happening next. Okay, what do we do now? So we've learned to certainly be even more flexible and not easy going, but we can transition quickly into what the next thing is and what we have to do.
Are you surprised that you were able to do this like 2 years ago before the pandemic? What would you have thought of if someone said, oh, by the way, you'll be closing down for a year and a half of the next 2 years? Like,
well, I would never have thought of that. But if you go back to the 3 weeks before the pandemic started, my husband called me at the studio and said, June, start recording the classes. I said, you are crazy. I don't have to start doing that. June, it's going to shut down. You are going to be shut down. You need to start doing it. So I listened to him and I started recording the choreography that was in the class. And he was right. We were shut down, 2 weeks later. I've always had the attitude, and I credit my parents for that I can do anything. And so they gave me that strength in myself and confidence in myself. Not that there weren't some down moments for sure, but it's like, no, I can do this, and we can do this. My team can do this.
describe how your parents instilled in you, I can do anything.
My father told me, both of my parents, but mainly my father, I think, just said that I could do anything. You can do that. He was so confident in everything that I did. They were always there for me. My father came to every dance recital, every dance show. The fact that I went to university, they were so proud of that, but they didn't push me to do it, but they had confidence that I could do it. So my whole life, right from as long as I can remember, that I could do it.
How cool is that?
Very cool.
So, Miss June, I am getting ready to bring in Chasta, but before we do that, I'm going to run a commercial for the conference. And also, I'd like to say to all of our viewers, please let us know in the comments where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. And we will be right back with Chasta Hamilton. And here we are. Welcome, Chasta.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. You always are good conversation, so I get excited when I have you on one of my broadcasts. Chasta, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for choosing to spend your Monday with us. I already see some names that I know in the comments, so that's exciting. My name is Chasta Hamilton. I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. I have 2 studios, Stage Door Dance Productions, and have been on this hamster wheel of a COVID journey alongside everyone else. And I also have a nonprofit, Girls Geared for Greatness, which was born under the dance studio, but is now its own 501c3 nonprofit. And I'm also an author and a speaker, and I always love the opportunity to chat with Ree, and I'm a huge fan of June. So this is a really fun way to start the week.
Awesome. I'm really glad to have you. You mentioned that you're an author. Tell everybody what your latest book was.
Yeah, so my latest book is called, this came out in 2020, back when I was wondering if anyone would actually even read it. But it's called Trash the Trophies, How to Win Without Losing Your Soul. And it's about the dance studio's decision to extract ourselves from competitive dance. Not saying that I'm anti, but it was really, the book is about personal and professional transformative leadership. And I have to say, I have a second book coming out late this summer, early fall.
Do you want to tell us about it?
So it is more, so if Trash the Trophies was like one really conflict oriented situation that I had to experience, this is kind of goes into the deeper iceberg of many conflicts and crises, hardships, obstacles in my life, and how the arts have kind of been this tempo and heartbeat that have guided the process of navigating those.
Okay, I
I
bet
can't say
that's
the
good.
title yet because I just
Go.
had my first meeting with the publisher last week, but it's coming.
I'm so happy for you. And I have
Thank
a
you.
feeling it'll be awesome.
It will.
So tell us a little bit about Girls Geared for Greatness.
Yeah. So in 2016, I had a studio mom. This was right after we left competition. We did a big rebranding, and a studio mom said to me, I think you have a huge opportunity to inspire the girls in our community with, leadership. And I said, oh my gosh, like the plate's too full. Now's not the time. But it that planted the seed. And so often we get these seeds planted that, they just take time to add the water and grow them and develop them. Well, in 2018, I was at Dance Life Teacher Conference in Scottsdale and said, well, we're going to launch this leadership program for girls. And that was kind of my manifest moment. There was nothing planned when I announced it. But I ran back to my hotel room, called the staff and said, okay, we're doing this. And in October that year, it launched. And at first, it was just going to be like this small kind of like club extension of Stage Door Dance Productions. But after that first season, people were like, wow, this really has some legs to stand on. This is needed. It was open to dancers and non-dancers. And they're like, why don't you grow it? Why don't you make it its own 501c3 so that you can apply for grant funding and grow? And we've started that process at the end of 2019. And then we all kind of know what happened, and the IRS got really wild and backlogged for months on end. So there was this resting period where it was like, are we going to get the 501c3? Is this organization dead on arrival? How do we resurrect it? Well, we resurrected it. And we brought it back with this modular program that has studios all around the country and in Canada participating. And it has just been so exciting. We did that in September. So yeah, Alicia is one of our affiliate programs. And it's just been really incredible to see this leadership spiraling outward. And we are predominantly hosted in dance studios, but we also have private schools and homeschool groups using it as well right now.
Very cool.
Tell us, what do you do within the program? What's some of the things that these girls experience?
Yeah, so we have a adaptable modular program that can be integrated weekly into leadership training. So we have a leadership lab at our studio that consists of our teens, and they kind of go through these 3 phases. And it's a girls phase, which focuses on the history, the present, the future of the female experience, a geared phase, which is identifying their skills, their leadership styles, their learning styles, and then the greatness phase, which is project management, ideation, activation, and execution. So that can kind of run however you want it through your dance season. I have some schools that are doing it a couple times a semester, some that are doing it weekly. It is very flexible and adaptable to whatever works for you. And so this is phase 1 of the program. Phase 2 will roll out in summer of 2022. And then in addition to that, we have our quarterly community events. So we had one in January. And this was a huge growth opportunity for me because I had a student come to me and she said, I know this 17-year-old female entrepreneur that's doing amazing things. And this young entrepreneur, Erica, runs a business called The Snake Experience. And I hate snakes, hate them. My skin crawls just saying the word snake. But I have this 10-year-old dancer sharing with me a female that's inspiring her. So I was like, well, Chasta, this is a growth opportunity for you. So sure enough, in January, we had 14 reptiles in the studio. Um, so we had snake experience in one room, goal getting in the other room, and we had, I think 30, 35 attendees, and it was just fantastic. And I held a snake for like 10 seconds and quickly let it go. But we're all growing through the program, and then we're doing a really fun thing in March for Women's History Month. We're doing a Groovin' for Greatness dance-a-thon to kind of celebrate women and our leadership.
I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you, why do you think this is so important at this time?
Yeah, so when it developed in 2018, there was so much conversation surrounding the Me Too movement, and there was a lot of heavy conversation in that. And I was like, how can we take what we do, the skills that we teach, and then add this extra layer to teach this predominant audience that we reach every single week that they are geared to achieve anything they want? And how can we help add tools that maybe we don't have time to do in dance class or rehearsal, so that when they leave our setting, they're leaving confident and, even more developed humans. And then, the pandemic hit, and we kind of all sat in this restful period. And as the months have passed, it is so, this conversation is needed more now than ever, because it's almost like what I'm seeing in our youth is that they have to be reminded of the potential, of the opportunity, of the dreams. Like, let's not forget that we also inspire and cultivate through that. But, maybe they want to be on Broadway, and maybe it's been 2 years since they've even seen a Broadway show, So it's really this branch of optimism that's saying, yes, you can, during a period of time when the world has said, no, you can't, to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. Miss June, I know I saw you writing down a question. We would go for it, my friend.
No, I was just writing down the Girls Geared for Greatness title because I want to make sure I delve deeper into that. But I'll comment to Chasta's last comment, is that we always are hopeful and looking forward to things. And this 2 years of being shut down diminished that. And it was very hard to be forward thinking, to think about the vacation or to think about the next workshop, because every which way you turned, everything was shut to us. So we have to come up with these little slivers of hope. It's starting to happen now a little bit better, but during those 2 years, it's been very important to do that. So this program is great for that.
So we're gonna talk more. I have some info here actually that I'm looking at on Girls Geared for Greatness, but I want to dig a little deeper with you, Chasta. A lot of studio owners and teachers that I work with say to me how excited they were to come back, but that their kids aren't the same. And that those who may have had enthusiastic approach may not have that anymore. Confidence is lacking. Are you feeling that that's a truth across the country?
I am. I'm hearing it from all the studios I work with too. I think it is a truth. And I think, what we have to be cautious of is that we don't, as artists, we sometimes have egos. I'm guilty as well. And in this process, it was just like, well, why doesn't anyone want to be here? And I was looking at it as a response to our programming, but in having more conversations and doing more exploration, it's not a response to our programming. That lack of enthusiasm may be, it's been a really bad week at school, or there's bullying happening because there's a breakdown in communication. The symptoms of this pandemic expand way beyond the actual COVID-19 virus. And I think we're seeing that, especially in our students. But I think it is so important that we still proceed with consistency and enthusiasm and being the steadfast piece that we've played in their journey up until this point. And, even when I'm talking to my staff, I'm finding that there are more challenges right now than at any other point. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of exhaustion, fatigue, burnout. And as dance educators, the challenge there is that we're used to measuring our success in tangible technical progress, right? Like we're looking for the routine to look good. We're looking for the triple pirouette to happen. And we have to just remember, if there is something impacting mental well-being of our students, there may be a block to hitting those benchmarks as quickly as they have in the past. And I think if we heighten our sensitivity to that and kind of embrace this fragility, that we're all experiencing, because I mean, let's be honest, like we're not really the same people that we were 2 years ago either.
No, that is the truth.
And we just have to kind of embrace it and nurture it and continue to shift and be flexible and adaptable, which is what we're great at doing. Which is why I think we will be okay, even though this is a little bit of a rough period.
What could we bring to our classrooms to help these kids more? I know you and I have talked, June and I have talked about better communications and having stronger relationship with the kids. But what about those teachers who might be, like you said, your faculty and staff, frustrated because they want to get back to what they were doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Will I ever get back there, or do I now have to come up with a new approach to what I do? What's your opinion?
I think it's half and half, right? Like we take the best of what we did and we drop it into what we have now, because we can't ignore what's happening. Like we can't say like this classroom has to look like it did in November of 2019, because that's a little unrealistic. But we're all amazing educators and we all have this passion, which I really think the dance industry is rare in its passion for its skill. So if we bring that passion and we bring that joy, we're creating a safe space, even if it takes longer to get back to where we were. And I'll give a tangible example of this. So our intensive training program, which is what replaced our competitive piece, we did like an informal showcase of routine rodeo in January. And some of the routines did not look as tight as maybe were to be, expected for that time of year. But this was the last weekend of January. And when we looked at attendance, we had not had 100% attendance since November 3rd because of quarantines, because of isolations. So students are coming back, we're having to be flexible with time out of the space. And when they get back into the space, it's kind of inappropriate to be like, why don't you know your choreography, right? Because we have to be sensitive to the fact that they're respecting our community by taking the time off to focus on their well-being. Mm-hmm. So instead, it really has to be, so we sent out an announcement and we told parents that. So we have to make sure that we're educating the parents too. Hey, these are still works in progress. Our attendance has been down because we have had so many students respecting our policies and quarantining and isolating as dictated. So we thank them for taking care of our community, and we're going to continue to work together to make sure that these routines get back on track. Because I get the concern. People measure our valuation by how they're progressing in the skill. So we need to be very clear and very transparent about things that are blocking the potential to get them to that place right now.
Do you think we worry about it more than these kids' parents are worrying about it? Like that we're more concerned?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think what's probably happening, if, what's happening to me happens everywhere else, is that we get a minority concern, minority percentage that speaks up. Why are they looking a mess? And then that makes us go down the rabbit hole of like overthinking, because we love to overanalyze. Am I doing something wrong? What could I be doing better? Can I work 20 hours a day when I'm already working 16? It's that hamster wheel, and we have to be cautious, and we have to be cautious that we're not letting our staff get on that either. So when they're hearing those concerns, saying, hey, listen, remember that whole list of things we talked about in our staff meeting that are hurdles that we're experiencing, that this is what's happening. This is an exact example of that. So in being prepared, we don't have to be shocked when it does happen.
If I could step in here too, Ree, and say that we do have to live in the moment and value what we have, and we have to educate our teams for that too. It's like, the fact that the kid has shown up, that they're in the classroom, that they're managing. In my 4-year-old class yesterday, we were doing a very basic spring point, very basic. The first time we tried it, one little girl just said, I can't do it, it's too hard. I said, remember, we're going to try again. We tried again. She did it and her face lit up. So we have, that was only a small example and a little tiny step, but we have to remember to educate our kids that it's okay to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try this and we're going to try it again. And that goes right up to the big ones as well.
I agree with you wholeheartedly there. And I'm not going to say lowering our expectations. I'm going to say mediating our expectations, knowing where the kid is at, what they're all about at this time in their lives, and just expecting what they can give us based on who they are. I look at the studio when I'm hearing from teachers who say, wow, the kids, they're not into it. I can't get them enthusiastic. I think to myself, it's really what you said, June, getting them in that classroom and getting them to forget about their issues in life and potentially losing themselves in the music and the movement. That's all that you can do.
One of my teachers, she teaches our 5-year-old program. And we also know, you recognize the cognitive development of kids. At 5, they're in senior kindergarten. So she said they haven't seen each other for a month because they've been on Zoom. So nobody stopped talking. She goes, it was like this. But she says, I have to let them talk because they don't get a chance to socialize. They haven't been socializing with friends and having play dates and just being able to chat to another human being that's not their brother, sister, mother, father, right? So we have to be aware of that. And I think that, yes, we're not lowering our expectations for the technique, but we're uplifting our emotional strength and what we bring to the classroom in that, what we're teaching. We're somewhat aware of it, but I think now we're more acutely aware of the need for that. And that's adding a huge amount of value into the programming that we do.
Very well said. So I'd love to hear from our audience if you have questions or concerns, something you'd like to propose to Chasta. And while we do that, Chasta, tell me about these notes that I have here that I'm going to try really hard to share on the first shot. Hang on, everybody, while we do this. Go ahead, Chasta.
Yeah, so I put together just some resources. So with Girls Geared for Greatness, one of the important things about it is that everything is free. So if you want the modular phase programming, we'll send it to you to lead. We have little monthly calls. So if there's anything we can do to support you as you're kind of adding this leadership element to your programming, we're here for it. So it's very accessible. And on this sheet, I listed 3 book recommendations because we have a Gearing Girls for Greatness virtual book club that's tailored for educators, parents, stakeholders. We did Beauty Sick, which was on self-image and adolescence last month. We'll be doing Reviving Ophelia this coming month. And then in May, we'll be doing American Girls, which is about social media and how it impacts female adolescents. So those are all great titles. And then even if you can read the book on your own, you cannot read the book and come to the conversation. And then, just some studio tips. These were just 5 things that I thought were really good. Just take time for leadership and set project management tasks that focus on ideate, activate, execute, and debrief. And I'll give you an example of that. So we have a Candygrams exercise where our teen leadership lab put together this menu of Candygrams to be sold around Valentine's. We did it for the first time in 2021, and then we did it again this year. Well, in 2021, we learned a lot about what worked, what didn't, what was a disaster. They sold 600 and some, raised 600 and some dollars, but we came together this year and said, how can we improve? So we had the same amount of workable hours. We streamlined things. We brainstormed with them. They still had to do everything that they did before. And this year, in the same amount of time, they sold $1,933, $1,900 candygrams. So they increased their productivity 250%. So being able to like sit down and say, this is something that you did for your studio community. They have to pitch it to the classrooms. They have to deliver to the younger dancers. They have to make all the grams. It's a great opportunity for them to kind of become one with the studio, which, like June was saying, one of the things we have to focus on is the community and the connection. So different ways that can take shape that maybe is more than a step, right? Maybe it's a little candygram Valentine, or maybe it's trunk or treat, or some other type of like back to dance bash or festival. And then I just think we also have to coach their executive functioning activities. So whether that's them being in a class and maybe they come in for a costume check and you notice and you say, you are so organized in how you brought your materials into class today. I really appreciate that. Or they try something 4 times in a row and it gets delivered every single time. And you say, you are putting forth so much effort and perseverance. I love seeing you try that. It is getting better every single time. Don't give up. So maybe those are things that we haven't verbalized as much in the past, but they have been being taught. But maybe now is a time that we actually verbally educate what's happening, because maybe they've lost sight of that and they just need to hear it in that day to give them that little oomph to keep going. And that kind of ties into that being intentional and informative. So for us, that's just talking a lot more. And then being sensitive to the current climate, because, you know, what we're seeing is there is a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's fatigue. There's exhaustion, which down on the bottom, these barriers and breakthroughs. We have a blog post about this specifically, but I wanted to drop it on here today. That just kind of shows like a barrier and then how we can break through it. And, you know, and one of those things, grief and loss, like maybe they're really disappointed that a major school dance, you know, was canceled or put to the back burner. And it is just like hearing that. So, you know, giving them space and time to process what they're actually feeling versus being like, get to the bar. I don't care. We need to get our dance looking better. But, you know, having that balance of I see you, I hear you as a person, and I'm still here and I'm still rooting for your success as a dancer. Cool.
Yeah. So talk to me about these last 2 boxes here.
Yeah. So they're kind of cause and effect. And, you know, what I also, one, I am not a mental health specialist. I'm just an entrepreneur that has seen a lot of things the last 2 years. So these are just little things, that symptoms that I've noticed, and then ways that we can push through, right? So exhaustion. We're seeing a lot of exhaustion. How do we combat exhaustion? Through a steady pace and showing a little bit of grace. So not saying like, well, you knew the routine 2 weeks ago, but saying, you know, I see that you're trying. Can you go home and brush up on your at-home choreography videos to help you feel more prepared, and then let us know if you need assistance. Fatigue. Say, how can we collaborate? You know, what can I give to you to help you feel more prepared and more confident? Anxiety, assurance, because there's so much instability right now, and instability and anxiety kind of go hand in hand. And I think that if we have assurance and then follow through, right? Because so many people have made hollow promises that maybe haven't been delivered. So how can we assure our dancers and then also give them the follow through to support that? And, you know, and maybe, and I think assurance is even just saying, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's been too many times over the last 2 years where people have promised things when maybe they should have just said, I don't know. We're going to try. This is our hope. If this doesn't happen this way, we have plans on the back burner. Just being honest and transparent. And that's actually in the other box too, because anxiety, instability, and uncertainty kind of all go together. This sense of overwhelmed. That's something we've noticed a lot too, of, you know, students are back in school, dance is happening, things are picking back up, things are starting to kind of normalize, but it's still in kind of that weird space. So there's just this sense of overwhelmed. So how can we be organized, and how can we teach them to be organized so that our piece of their puzzle isn't overwhelming? And one thing that I've had to really be intentional about during this period is I can only control what's within my sphere of focus. So if there's chaos being created in school, in home life, I really only have control over what's within my walls and within my space. But how can we make sure that whatever we're doing is as helpful as possible? And that's kind of the purpose of those boxes.
What's funny in looking at this, I'm going to stop this share now, is as you describe all these things, I think we, the dance teacher, are also dealing with all of the exhaustion, the anxiety, the instability, the overwhelm. You think about that. We're also dealing with it, which should give us a better understanding of what our kids are dealing with.
Yeah, and we're fully developed, right? I mean, theoretically. But,
yeah, exactly.
But if you think about this, like when you were an adolescent, like I think about when I was a teenager during those like formative developmental years, if all of this had been like, if the walls had been closing in, how would I be responding? And I think you're right. Like all of those things on that list, we experience as adults. So it has to be so much more magnified to the youth and the adolescents. And that's why I think like a higher, just even recognizing it and then addressing it is a huge step in the right direction.
I'm with you. Miss June, what's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I just love listening to all your words, Chasta. They hit me, and it's just I feel like it's a big hug that we have to give our community, and we have to certainly give ourselves grace and give everybody in our world grace. We still have our expectations, but we have to be bigger with them and let them be broader. Let them be broader. And because the one thing you touched on a little bit is all the students' parents are dealing with it. So yes, we're dealing with it in our little world with the kids, but then you've got mom and dad or grandma, whoever's the caregiver, and amplify that. And we don't, like you said, we don't have control over what's happening at home. We can just help to make the studio space a more comfortable and safer environment for the kids.
Okay, you are right. Chasta, I want to take you somewhere else and get your reaction to what I'm about to say. I teach dance. I don't know that I should be doing this within my classroom because the parents pay me to make good dancers. What's your reaction to that statement?
Yeah, the parents, they pay to make good dancers, but ultimately if you're just achieving a skill, you're stopping your limitation as an educator, right? Like I think if we think
Bingo.
about the educators that have inspired us have taught us more than like how to write a sentence or how to do a tendu. They've instilled a fire in us that just makes us want to explode. And so that's where I think as educators, when we're reaching for excellence, this holistic approach is what's necessary right now.
I agree with you 100%. And listen, if we could get the whole community and the parents to understand that it's about building good citizens, and that's what they were excited about, instead of us saying we make great dancers, our businesses would be bigger. Mm-hmm. Because every parent out there wants a healthy, productive child who's focused on something and knows or is exploring their greatness. If we can do that under our roofs and teach them how to dance, how cool is that? And I look at it like this. That student that you inspired to be whatever her greatness is, she's not going to come back to you and go, I love that routine we did in 2002 that was to the Choo Choo song. they are going to say, boy, I am where I am today because of your influence on me.
It's true. I just got a card a few weeks ago from a student that was with us a long time, and she said, I can't thank you enough for how you were a role model and inspired me. And she was like, I would never have made it to optometry school if it wasn't for being a part of your program. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, yeah, a small percentage may go on. I mean, we have professional dancers too. But the thing is, like, what is that passion and that purpose that we are going to set on fire in each of these students through their participation in our programs? And how do we emulate that from ourselves with dance and dance education being our passion?
Yes, yes. Wow. Know that I get excited about this because I have been preaching the philosophy that when you call yourself a great teacher, it's because you were able to make the students want to be good. It isn't because you've got a great way to teach a student how to turn out their beautiful supporting leg. It's because you believe in them so much that they believe in themselves, and then they can do the work. Sorry, I got a little excited there.
No, I love it. And this made me think, I don't know if anyone here has watched the jazz dance documentary Uprooted. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think about that the moment in that documentary where Debbie Allen is sharing, you know, the influence that Patrick Swayze's mother had on her in her studio, because she was the only studio that would accept Black students at the time. And that's where Debbie Allen got her start. And yes, Debbie Allen's a dancer, but she's, you know, a million and one other things too. And, you know, you just never know. You never know where looking at this purposeful humanistic approach is going to take a student that walks into your building. I fully believe that the sky is the limit when we take that approach. And it makes me feel, and I can confidently say this as a new mom myself, that that is the type of programming that I would want my son enrolled in. Like, I don't want him to just learn a skill. I want him to learn how to be a rock star human that's going to walk out of those doors and impact the world in whatever way that he wants.
Can you say the name of the documentary again, please?
Yes, it's called Uprooted, and it's on HBO Max. It's 90 minutes, and it had me doing jazz walks, the best I've ever done jazz walks in like 10, 15 years after watching it. I was so inspired. I was levitating.
I don't get HBO Max, so I'm a frustrated man right now. I may be getting it soon.
Can I just talk on a point that Chasta made? I know that over the years of having my studio, and I'm in my 37th year, sometimes parents would come in, this is a long time ago, and say, well, I'm not looking for her to be a professional dancer. And I remember 37 years ago saying, that's not what we teach, or that's not how we teach. Here's what we're doing. We're creating the next generation of citizens. That's what we're doing. That's changed a lot now. I don't think parents are seeing dance studios as their kids have to go in order to be a professional dancer. They're going to be doing other things. But I think as studio owners and as teachers, we need to make sure we're letting the parents know that this is what they're getting, because like that connection that we have with the parents is going to build and strengthen our community and ultimately build our business. Because if they have to choose between a place that's only going to teach a fouette turn and that's it, and never connect with the child, we're going to benefit if we're connecting with the child, and so is the child and our whole community.
And I want to tag on to what June was saying, because yes, that is so important. But what I also see happening a lot is people slap the words up there but then they don't have the follow through. So the thing is, if you are saying that you are teaching dance and training good humans, yes, say it, shout it from the rooftops, generate that buy-in and inform your clientele, but make sure that you're actually doing it. Because that hollowness actually reflects poorly on those of us that are saying it and doing it.
Such a valuable point. You can't say that you're going to that competition so your kids have a chance to perform and then have a mental breakdown when they don't win. Okay, and that is happening in our country, coast to coast. And maybe I could have found a better way to have said it. But it is the right example, okay? Or you say nurturing the next generation to be the best that they can do. Prove that to me. That isn't by making them the greatest dancers. Again, it's by creating these great citizens.
And it's also in being inclusive, right? Like if you are truly saying that you're nurturing humans, you're nurturing every human that has the potential to learn how to dance. You're not picking and choosing. It is literally everyone, and it is work being done every single day of how can we be more inclusive? How can we do better? I mean, I've learned a lot since I've opened my doors. I grew up in a very small town in East Tennessee, and running a business in a metropolitan area, there's a big juxtaposition there, and there's work to be done, and there's always but this idea of inclusivity, you can't say nurturing all humans and then cast a competition team if you have to have like all of these specifications, or you at least have to find a way to train them so that they have that opportunity. And I just think that's something we have to be hyper aware of. Because, I always get excited when there's a student that has potential and maybe it hasn't been tapped into yet, but they have that drive and that heart. And I would say that is some of our greatest success stories, are because other places would not take them.
Yes. And proving that you're a great teacher isn't about always having the best dancers. Proving you're a great teacher is about the dancer that you create and how confident they are in themselves. They may never have won that Miss Dance trophy, but they're ready to tackle life because of the journey that they've been through in dance. Okay. So Chasta, some final words of wisdom. It's so funny because now I feel like I could go. Now that we've been on this call for 50 minutes, I feel like if there was something that I could do and I could take you with me, both of you, it's to tell all of our dance community, dance educators, studio owners, that this dance thing is about the joy. It's about the child feeling that vibe on the inside that you feel when you dance. And even the kid who never gets your full ball change after 10 years can feel the vibe. And how cool is that? It's like, let us be grateful that we have the chance to have this influence and that it goes so far beyond the steps. Only a teeny piece will go on to that professional career. It's okay.
You know what? Those people, that even if they don't go on to a professional career, they are still going to feel that jolt of excitement when they're sitting in a show, when they're supporting performing arts, when they're enrolling their children.
Yes.
It's cyclic, right? So it's the impact, or they're going to be confident speakers in their like corporate career, or they're going to say, let's all get up and like shake it out. That movement is going to carry them through their whole journey. And it's just like Ree was saying, it is process and progress over product. They're like, what is the product of life, right? Like, I'm not even really sure. It's just this journey that we continue living. So, and I think we have to embrace that. We can't say like, I've arrived when this happens or when that happens. Like, we should always be, transforming and moving, and we should encourage our dancers to do the same.
One of the things I always say is I can't get rid of my kids. And I'm thankful for that. I am teaching, like I have adult students who I've taught their kids, and I'm now teaching their grandkids. And my kids go away for university and they come back to take classes. I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful that they have the passion for movement and they feel that they can come back anytime. So it's amazing.
Wow, guys, really good conversation. I so much appreciate you. I appreciate our audience. Let us head into the studio if we head in today or tomorrow with a renewed passion to be the best mentor, leader, teacher that we can be for our dancers, female or male. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you, Miss June. Thank you, Chasta. We will do this again.
I can't wait. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a great week.